Hello, everyone. This is the show that starts promptly at noon. The only internet show out there that starts exactly at noon every weekday. And it is a show I like to call Lunch Day. It's great to be here. Yeah, so who says there's no audience, right? There's audience, there's laughs, there's everything that you could possibly want in a show on a Thursday afternoon. This is the show where we don't talk about all the crap out there. This is the show where we talk about fun things, take a little bit of break, take a little bit of a break and breathe. As many of you know, at the top of the show, we take in a deep breath, and then we take in another deep breath, and then we follow that with yet another deep breath. So I'm going to walk you through that. Feel your feet on the floor. Let's try and be as present in this moment as possible, as if we were Eckhart Tolle, or who knows who else would be present in a moment. As if you were Joel Marshall. I'm Joel Marshall. I'm a comedian here in Los Angeles. I'm an entertainer, a nonprofit entertainer at this point. And I am nonprofit entertaining you all today for half an hour. So let's take in a deep breath. Hold it. Let it out. Again, let's take in a lot of oxygen here. Fill those lungs. Take in a little bit more. Whoa. And let it out. Getting high on your own supply, as they say. One more. Breathe it in. And let it out. I am so happy to be here today. Let's have a round of applause for today. Today is it's Thursday. It's a gift. Every day is a gift. That's why they call it the present, right? Right. So I made you guys a little something today. You know, I'm always searching around for something that's going to relax us, something that's going to let us forget about things and just go into not a coma, go into a state of bliss or a state of serenity. I guess serenity sounds good. So I made this little thing. It's it's a mix. It's a mix of something Indian, and it is a mix of something in some other Asian country. I'm not sure what it is. But here it goes. I mean, it's kind of a mashup. I don't know. Kind of a mashup. Let's get into it. Who is this guy? I'm not sure. I found this on the internet and repurposed it. There was different music, just the sound of what was going on there. And this guy, and this is an Indian chant, a very famous Indian chant, Govinda. Yeah, talk about hula hoop, right? It's crazy, man. It's a kind of a metaphor for life, I have to say. Look how much fun he's having riding that thing. Hopefully the Twitchers will love it. So I hope you like that. I feel better after that somehow. I'm gonna play that sometimes when I really want to. I don't know. Bliss out. My friend Neal Phillip, who likes to hang out in the Twitch room with all the Twitchers. He one time asked me. He was kind of depressed, and he said, "Joel, do you have a funny movie that I could watch? Because I'm kind of depressed." And I don't know. I mean, I guess we all find our way out of depression in different ways. Some people watch The Hoop Man. Some people do breathing techniques. Some people do the ASMR. If you don't know what that is, you can look at a previous episode. And my wife is saying, "Oh no," something earlier. She's saying, "Oh, about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind." Yes, so that's what I recommended. The film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is one of my favorite films. It's got everything. It's got science fiction. It's got absurdity. It's got Jim Carrey. It's such a good film. They're so good in it too. But apparently it's not a film for a depressed person. Sometimes I feel like, it's good to watch what might be seen as a depressing movie when you're depressed, because then you feel like misery loves company, right? Isn't that a truism? Govinda says it turns out not to be a comedy. It's all in how you look at it, right? It's all in how you look at it, whether it's a comedy or not. Kind of like the film Ordinary People. Todd Lee brings up a very good point. Ordinary People. That is not a film to watch when you're depressed. And that does not, you're right. If I was depressed, it wouldn't be a sort of misery loves company kind of a situation. Oh, yeah, that's another classic. My friend Kevin Sherman lives in the neighborhood where that was filmed, I believe. We should have asked him about that when he was on the show. Oh, I want to mention to you tomorrow, Uncut Gems. See that movie. That's another good movie with another great comedian in it. That's not necessarily a comedy. Adam Sandler, Uncut Gems. Thanks, Jay Gaffney, for that recommendation. Sometimes when I am depressed or whatever, I will watch movie trailers. I don't know if you guys watch movie trailers, but you can see what's coming soon, and it's very exciting because movie trailers are just designed to get you just pumped up to see something really awesome. And so I will watch movie trailers. Sometimes they're better than the movie these days because they're just so tightly edited, and they use that philosophy, that Barnum and Bailey, that P.T. Barnum philosophy where they just show all the good stuff. It's like really concentrated, really good food. There was a guy that I knew who loved to eat Snickers bars, and he said, "I love Snickers bars because it's like a really concentrated, really good food. It's as if you had a big meal just concentrated into this little crap." Snickers bar is very important in this episode. I'll tell you that. I'm going to get to it in a moment. But first, I want to show you the trailer for my favorite film that was never made. It was never made. I got to put this on here. I just watched reruns of Lunch Therapy, Misery Loves Company. That's right. That's right. Maybe that's what this show is. Maybe it's a Misery Loves Company kind of show where we come in here and just have fun because there's some misery going on out there. That's for sure. So here it is, the trailer of my favorite movie that was never made.
Now, we discovered that while you were at MIT, you wrote a thesis called Lazarus, almost a precursor to the current scientific movement known as singularity.
This guy was in Game of Thrones. He's a fellow, I think his name is Joseph Mall. So, like, this is legit. He played, like, the uncle in Game of Thrones.
Well, machines. Mr. Maxwell, something like that.
Saved everybody. Uh-oh, he's getting out of here. He's like, I can't talk about Ray Kurzweil with you. That's where I work. That's my building downtown. So if they ever do film this movie, I can, on my lunch break, I could go out. That guy, I love that guy. That guy, his name is Neal McDonough. And one time I was working on a set and I was...
You okay?
I'll tell you that story later. See, it's a brain thing, like Eternal Sunshine.
Right now, nothing else matters.
But not as funny. Wait till you see his face.
Talk to me, what do you got?
Wait till you see his face. Blue Thunder reference there.
For the experimental military drone that escaped from an FBI evidence storage facility in Nevada 73 hours ago, hailed as the next generation of unmanned drone technology.
Here it is, the reveal. Oh, look at that.
A mistake that resulted in the deaths of all 18 employees of Accelerated Dynamics, including...
Don't you want to see this movie? I'm going to take a survey in the chat room. Who wants to see this movie? Who wants to see it? I know I do. Look at that guy. I don't know what happened there.
And how are we doing this evening?
And he runs out.
Hey!
Iron Rocket guy.
Let's go, 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 go!
Yeah, it's like Rocketeer. A little bit. Kamala wants to see it. I mean, I want to see this movie. I mean, it's like he's a cyborg or something. And, you feel for him. You feel for the guy. You're like, oh, look at his face. He's like, it's such an expressive face. And they're coming after him. In 2013. See, that's when this was supposed to come out. It never came out. If anybody knows what's the guy's name? They're gonna say who the director is. The Prototype, it's called. The Prototype. There is a movie called The Prototype, but it's not it. So if you ever find Andrew Will, is the guy's name, or any of these people, let me know what's going on, because this movie has to be made, I think. Just one more anecdote. Neal McDonough, the actor, one of the actors in that thing. One time I was working on Captain America, the movie Captain America. They were doing some reshoots, and I was playing a Nazi. And I had the whole Nazi uniform on, and I was walking out to get in, a bus to go out to shoot this thing. And Neal McDonough, the guy who was like the cop in that thing, walks out of the trailer and he looks at me, and I'm dressed like a Nazi, and he goes, "Hey," like we know each other. He's like, "Look at you." And he was just so excited to see me. And I don't know what that was all about, but it was just fun. He just seemed so fun. Have you ever done that though, where you're walking down the street and you see a famous person? Like, just walk by you. This happened to me. John Cusack. I was in Chicago many, 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 many years ago. John Cusack's walking towards me, and I see him. And because I'm such a huge fan of Better Off Dead and a lot of his movies, I think I know him, but I don't. So I as soon as I see him, I'm going, "Hey!" like that. And he was confused. But maybe that happens all the time. Maybe it happens all the time. And Neal, that is not basically RoboCop. There was nothing RoboCop about that. This is like a cyborg, a man who has been turned into a cyborg, and he's on the run. He's a renegade because people do not understand him. He's got a soul. He's the prototype. They're afraid of his face. He has to hide it in a hood. It is a It's a drama about pain and being different. You can understand that, Ganell. I am the prototype. For what? We are not sure yet. But I did put the lid down on the toilet today. I believe I did. I might be wrong. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have a different kind of hue today. I'm a little bit greenish, a little bit yellowish. I went for this look. It's like a colorized look, and it's kind of hip. There was a time there where movies came out. There were a lot of movies coming out, and they were all kind of tinted yellow. Matt Wright had that same experience. Winona Ryder, Whole Foods in Seattle. He's walking around, and all of a sudden, hey! And it's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing thing. See, you guys, that's the thing about Misery Loves Company is you can share. We can share across the internets. So the thing I want to talk to you about today is I want to talk about Alaska. I went to Alaska a long time ago, and I just want to talk about it, but I want to get into it because how did I end up in Alaska? I wondered. I mean, I was just wondering, like, why did I do that? Why did I go to Alaska? I worked up in Alaska for a while, and in Seattle, that is a very common thing. Kids, when we were in high school, some of the kids would go up to Alaska and work. I don't know, Tom Jackson, Ken Ingblom. I think their parents owned boats or something like that, and they would go up there and they would work during the summer, and then they'd come back with massive amounts of cash, just tons of money. It was like they won the lottery or won a game show or something like that, and they'd buy like motorcycles and one guy tried to buy somebody's parents' house. They like put in a bid on their house. It was crazy money. Crazy money. Yeah, those guys were tough. And I was I was not tough. That kind of scared me, going away from my mommy and going up to Alaska. That's why I wonder, like, why did I eventually do that? How did I do that? It goes back to something that happened to me in high school. I was sitting in Mr. Evans' class. Mr. Evans comes up in the show all the time. I'm sitting in Mr. Evans' class, and my friend Brian Keaton says to me, "Hey, do you want to rush with me this weekend?" And I like Rush, but not enough to rush, go a whole weekend listening to Rush. My friend Jeff Lohman, he when we would ski, he had a Walkman with a tape. He had one tape in it, and it was Rush, like 2112 or Pictures at an Exhibition or something. He had that on him, skiing and listening to Rush the entire time. And I was like, I don't think I really want to do that. That takes a certain kind of hardcore Rush fan. And Brian's like, no, will you just shut up? Will you just be quiet for a second? And I'll explain to you. Rush is when you go to a fraternity and they try and get you to be a member. And the great thing about it is they give you all kinds of free beer. And they don't even card you. And I was like, well, I'm willing to give that a try. But to me, fraternities were like this. This was a fraternity as far as I was concerned. This is from the film Animal House. I don't know if you guys... I'm sure we all saw this growing up. John Belushi. Sorry. And so I'm like, that's a fraternity. I'm not sure I want to live there. I don't want to live in a place like that. I'm going to college, and I don't even think those places exist. But if there's free beer and we're going to go down there and rush, I guess I could do that. So I went down there and we went, and it was like they were trying to get us to join a cult or something. I guess you could maybe even define these fraternities as a cult. This one that I ended up joining, which a lot of, I kind of feel like, I'm concerned. I was in the theater department when I was in college, and I didn't tell people I was in a fraternity. It just was not something, because there was kind of a stigma. But, I met a lot of my lifetime friends there. And there are other people we were in Sigma Nu fraternity. Here's a picture of the house we lived in. It was quite a nice house, much better than the dorms, because in the dorms it had it was like a cement room with like a drain in the middle. But this place, we had a cook. There were like 60 guys living there. Super fun. I guess people that have come out of there, that Sigma Nu, is like Harrison Ford and John Hamm and William Inge, the great playwright, and James Dean and Todd Lee came out of this place. I have a picture here that I want to show you of Paul Rudd. That's Paul Rudd, and then the picture next to him is his Sigma Nu picture. I think he and I like traded hairstyles or something. So he's Sigma Nu. And the thing that was weird about it is it was sort of cultish, because there were rituals, weird rituals that we would do. There was supposedly a secret handshake that I never quite learned. I mean, it wasn't complicated, but I just didn't believe it was a secret handshake, because it just didn't. And one time I got another guy in another fraternity to give me his secret handshake, and it was the same. And we were supposed to keep everything, really like, and then we took a class. Every week we took a class where we were supposed to learn about what Sigma Nu meant. And I still don't really know what it meant. It was a couple of Greek letters. These were the gurus. I still know their names today: Hopkins, Quarles, and Riley. They were some weird dudes at Virginia Military Institute, like way, way back in like the 1800s, who I guess they were getting beat up a lot. So they decided, hey, we're going to get together, we're going to shake hands, I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder, and we're going to start something called Sigma Nu, and it's based on there will be no hazing. Because I guess that was really important to them. There was just no hazing. They didn't like getting beaten up. I don't know what they were doing in a military institute if they didn't like getting beaten up, because isn't that kind of what the military is about, beating each other up? I don't know. A dude a couple of weeks ago gave me a secret handshake. He was about 40 and was a Sigma Nu from somewhere else. And was it the actual handshake? That's what I want to know, because I'm not sure about that. So then we would take classes on what these guys stood for, and basically what they stood for was love, truth, and honor. And they always said this: love, truth, and honor, love, truth, and honor, love, truth, and honor. I'm not sure who was living that way. It seems like some good basic principles, right? Gordy, yep, it was the same handshake. Jay Gaffney, I was told it was Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Yeah, it probably would. I mean, it would have been better. The music would have been better, I think. And I think these guys were Rush fans. I mean, let's face it. But anyway, we took this class, and we didn't really have like ethical things. There was a guy, his name was like Graham Cracker or something like that would come in. Graham Cracker, that's probably a good name for him. He would come in once a year from like corporate and give us the what for and just like yell at us. One time he came in and he just yelled at us and told us, you know what? You should only drink until you get a warm, fuzzy glow. You should just drink until you have a glow about you. Don't drink in excess. So, I mean, I guess he was trying to get us to stop drinking or stop drinking in excess, which seems like a Sisyphusian task to a bunch of college kids who have just discovered drinking. So we never really learned anything. We did have a fundraiser once a year where we had a fundraiser where we would get our parents to make baked goods. And they would come down, all of them would come down to the fraternity and with their baked goods, a lot of them. And then we'd raffle them off to the parents, and they would each buy their own baked goods, and then we'd keep the money. I mean, I guess that was a pretty good entrepreneurial thing, but I don't know where the love or the truth or the honor is in that. But those were the tenets of the cult, and these were the cult leaders, and there you have it. But what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is, how did I get into Alaska? So I was kind of a fearful little kid, you get away from home. And so I would go, when I got to college, and it wasn't that far, it was like 20 minutes away from my parents' house, and my dad taught at the university, so I wasn't really away from home, but I started coming home on the weekends immediately, and my parents were like, what are you doing? Get out there, stay out there. So I stayed at this fraternity, but then in the summers, I would go home. I'd go back home, because I just want to live with my parents. I just want to live with my parents. So I would go home, and I would, get a job. And I worked in a movie theater for a long time. And then one summer, I guess it was my sophomore year, I decided that I was going to go somewhere and get some experience. So my friend, Doug O'Donnell, hooked me up with this German family. And I was going to go to Germany. I was going to live with the German family for the whole summer. And I was going to learn German. I was going to teach them English. And it was going to be this incredible cultural exchange. And right at the last minute, I bailed. I was like, screw that. I was scared. I'll admit it right here. I was totally scared. I wanted to live with my parents. I just want to live with my parents. And I ended up working in a car lot with Gordy Wall the entire summer. It was actually one of the worst. I think Gordy might attest to this. Working at a car lot on Federal Way is not a great way to spend the summer, I'll tell you. There's one day in the summer that is very exciting, and it's called Sea Fair, and everybody goes on the lake, and they have these boats. They race boats. I don't know why. They look like race cars, but as boats. If a race car was born again as a boat, that would be Sea Fair. And there's one day, and everybody goes out there in their inner tubes and all these boats, and everybody has all this fun. And the first day of work, I get there, and there's a guy who's like, I need to have this day off. Do you want to trade? And I was, my first day of work, so I was kind of like, well, and the date didn't mean anything to me. And I was like, I was trying to be amenable. And I said, okay. And it turned out that day that he wanted to trade for was Seafair Day. So that summer, I spent Seafair in a van, like watching it on TV, in a van down by the river. Horrible summer. Ganell says it beats working in Houston for the summer. That's another reference that I will get to. But yeah, it does beat working in Houston for the summer. That's probably where Neal was that summer. But the next summer came around, and I was like, I am going to do something. I am not going to spend my summer in a van down by the river. That's a Chris Farley reference for any of you that have been asleep for the last 40 years. So I'm not going to spend my summer. So my friend came to me and he said, you want to go to Alaska next year? Doug O'Donnell. He says, hey, you want to go to Alaska next year? And I was like, and again, I got cold feet. I was like, yeah. And then I didn't apply for the job. I didn't apply at all. So a few months later, he comes to me. He's like, did you get a job? Because I just got a phone call and I got a job and I'm going to Alaska. And Alaska was just terrifying to me. And I had just decided I did not want to go. And I had resolved myself that I don't want to go. But it was kind of like if somebody has like a box of poop. And if they go, I'm not going to give you this box of poop. I really, I can't. Sorry. You're kind of like, can I have that? So all of a sudden it was like, I really want to go to Alaska. What have I done? I'm going to spend another summer in a van down by the river. So I found out where the place was where he got the job, and I got on my bike and I rode over there, and I don't know, I was sort of like, I guess I was like Donald Trump at the time because I had magical thinking, I think. And I went into that place, and rather than say, hey, I really screwed up, I didn't apply for a job, do you have anything that I can have? I went in there and I was like, I'm here for my job. I'm supposed to have a job working in Alaska. And the person behind the desk, they what's your name? And they started looking up, and then they got all nervous. They were all nervous, like, oh my God, what? We don't have it here. And it was as if I had caught them as if they had lost my resume. And
whoa, now that's going too far, Joel.
Boney, just stay out of it, okay? God, Boney. Anyway, so what they did is they said, well, fill out a resume. We're going to put it on top. We're going to put it on top. And I got a job that day. And I was going to go to Alaska. But something happened that just about stopped the whole thing. And I cannot get into it today because we've run out of time. We have run out of time. What can you do? What can you do? So I'm going to just cut it off here with the idea that I am going to go to Alaska. I'm all excited. I'm going with my friend Doug O'Donnell. We're going to make a ton of money. We're going to come back and we are going to buy everyone else's houses. We're going to get motorcycles and we are going to go down. I'm going to buy that car lot. I'm going to get a yacht and go to the seafair. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to keep it to a half an hour. I appreciate everybody here. It's a cliffhanger. Yeah, this is like the old cliffhanger. So next week, we're going to have to wait till next week to hear the Alaska stories, the Alaska saga. I hope that you'll join me. Tomorrow, of course, is Interview Friday. And we have a really great guest, Jonathan Sposato. This is a guy that we have been trying to get everybody that I've interviewed so far has said, you should interview Jonathan Sposato. And Jonathan was one of my best friends growing up. And he is, he's like, I don't know what happened. He sold 2 companies to Google. He's like this amazing entrepreneur. And he, just keeps it going. He owns GeekWire and he just bought Seattle Magazine and he's like a super nice guy at the same time. I just want to find out, like, how did that guy come from the same place that we came from, right, Matt? I like what Matt said. Of course, Matt's a rock star, so what can we really say about that? An old-timey cliffhanger about the wilds of Alaska. That's exactly it. Thank you very much, Matt, for that. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention Pick Monkey. We'll hear all about that with Jonathan tomorrow. So tomorrow is that, and there's also a podcast. I'm going to do a shortened version of Jonathan's interview tomorrow with just all the juicy stuff, and then the longer podcast will be there for people to listen to it. It's called Lunch Therapy Interview Friday. So we're going to go out on... I don't know. We're not on Facebook today. I feel like I just want to play a little bit of this musician. He's one of my favorites. We saw him play at a friend's wedding. He is somebody that was very big in our childhood in the 80s. And he's still just this wonderful performer. And I just want to play a little bit of it. And I'll have a link at the end of the show where people can go to it. And I'm just sharing. I hope he doesn't mind. Anyway, this is Colin Hay. I don't know if you guys know, you know who this is because he's Men at Work, right? And this is him playing the famous song, Down Under. I'm going to put my headphones on. I don't know if it's called Down Under. I think so.
Traveling in a Friday combi on a hippie trail, head full of zombies. I met a strange lady, she made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. She said, do you come from a land down under? Women glow and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.